This week on Straight Talk Africa, rapid urbanization is spreading across Africa and so-called smart cities are emerging. They're based on innovation and promise to fuel economic growth. Are smart cities the new trend on the continent? Will they create better living conditions for the rising middle class? How will smart cities serve their citizens? Straight Talk Africa starts right now. Welcome to Straight Talk Africa. I'm your host, Vincent Makori. Urban centers in Africa are growing at a very fast pace. People are flocking to them, seeking opportunities to better themselves. By 2035, 100 African cities will have over 1 million people and will be home to about 21% of the continent's population. Those cities are expected to generate more than 60% of Africa's GDP. That's according to research by the Economist Intelligence Unit. Now, a recent trend we're seeing in a number of African countries is the emergence of the smart cities. What are smart cities? Joining us to help us better understand this is VOA Africa technology reporter Paul Ndiho. Paul, so
Hello,
what are smart cities?
Well, thanks, Vincent. Smart cities, the concept of smart cities has been around for a while. It's just that in the last 10 or 15 years, it has exploded. Why? Because of urban migration. There are a lot of people who have been moving into cities, and now these cities that were constructed before the colonial era or predating back then, they can no longer accommodate people. Now countries are trying to figure out how to accommodate these people. That's why they're coming up with the concept of smart cities. But simply put, smart cities are driven by technology, AI, or advancement of these new technologies help to drive these cities as we know it.
Now, there are concerns, though, of living in smart cities, especially as pertains to technology, because technology has become so invasive, but also to some it's a kind of a risky place to be.
Yeah, you make a greater point there. Yes, there are a lot of concerns when it comes to especially data, because most of these smart cities drive their livelihood on data. For example, let's say if it's how traffic is entering into the city, you want that data. How people are using or conserving energy, you want data. So anybody can take advantage of that. But from what we know now, most people who are using this data, they're using it for the good. We have not had incidences where some people have taken advantage of this data to do harm, especially when it comes to like national grid, tapping into hospitals. But for example, the cities, let's say Cape Town. Cape Town is one of those smart cities that leverages its data to improve the city, to do housing, to figure out how to police the community, to build new schools. So we've seen when data is used very well, it can help to urbanize some of these smart cities that we are talking about.
Interesting you referenced Cape Town, but there is evidence that more of the older cities across Africa are making efforts to transform into smart cities, besides, of course, building cities right from scratch, as we're going to discuss further in a moment.
Yeah, that's a great one. Let me put it this way. We've had an advantage. The technological advancement, we've had an advantage of that. Compared to the Western world, we did not have that infrastructure. In the Western world, people had the infrastructure. So the difference between here and over there is that here, they're doing more gentrification because they had infrastructure already existing. They cannot build smart cities. They have to build around existing infrastructure. When it comes to Africa, we did not have that infrastructure, so we are leveraging on technology. In some cases, we have gone and recreated or built brand new cities like Konza, like Echo, like New Cairo, places where people are tapping into technology. The other point I could make is the intellectual balance of power has been shifting in our favor, meaning that we have access to the internet, we have access to technology, we have access to the best engineering schools, the best architectural schools. So Africans are also tapping into that to make sure that they are part of this global community where exposure is everything. People are able to leave their villages, go to Beijing, come here to Washington, and learn from the best examples. So, and because of that, they're able to take that knowledge back to their home countries and come up with these smart cities.
Superb. Paul, thank you very much for those insights. Smart cities in Africa are at the conceptual stage and others are being built now. In Rwanda, we have Kigali's Vision City, an upscale residential contemporary living community. In Senegal, there is the futuristic Akon City, a project of Senegalese singer and entrepreneur Akon. He says he wants buildings to look like contemporary sculptures. In Ghana, we have Accra's Hope City, intended to house the continent's largest skyscraper. It's a project of former Ghanaian President John Mahama to be realized in the future. And in Kenya, we are witnessing the creation of a new city between Nairobi and Mombasa, the Konza Technopolis. With us today on Straight Talk Africa is the CEO of the Konza Technopolis, John Paul Okwiri. Welcome, Mr. Okwiri.
Thank you, Makori, for hosting me for this great interview.
Well,
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes. So let's start right there. You're developing a city right from the ground up, and it's now called Konza Technopolis. Can you help us understand the concept behind this?
No, thank you for hosting me for this interview. Konza Technopolis is a smart city. Konza Technopolis is a concept derived from the Kenya's Vision 2030, which was a national blueprint strategic project that envisioned to do various projects for the country to ensure that Kenya would move from a low-income country to a middle-income country by the year 2030. Konza Technopolis is one of those conceptual projects that the government of Kenya has envisioned to be the drivers towards this achieving the middle-income country by the year 2030. It's a smart city. It's a master planned smart city being developed from scratch, from a green field.
Yeah.
And Konza Technopolis is going to ensure that as a country, we move towards knowledge-based economy, away from the conventional industry-driven economy, agricultural-driven economy, to one that is our research and development driven, where we will be able to commercialize knowledge and innovation. Thank you.
And now, some who are watching, say Kenyans, are very curious. You're building the city in between Nairobi and Mombasa. What will make it such a unique city compared to those two? What is it that a person who comes to that city to visit will see that will be different than what they see in Nairobi, in Mombasa, in Kisumu?
Konza Technopolis is different from any other city you can see in Kenya, in that it focuses on three major clusters. That is ICT and ICT-enabled services, life sciences, and engineering. All these are driven by technology, research and development, and also commercialization, commercial activities. So Konza is different from any other city that we'll see around Africa or in Kenya because of these three main clusters. And this is because Konza wants to ensure that as a country, Kenya, we move away into knowledge-based economy. You look at countries like Malaysia, Korea, where now they are more technologically driven and innovation driven. The economies the GDPs are driven by technology, as opposed to in Africa and in Kenya, where our economy is still majorly driven by agriculture, industry, and tourism. So Konza Technopolis is this futuristic city that will ensure that as a country, we achieve this. And that's why we've been able to implement a master plan that was conceptualized through the support of our development partners called Master Delivery Partner. That was led by Tetra Tech, which is American consortium of consultants who are experts in master planning smart cities. And since then, we've been able to implement that master plan and guidelines that were developed in the year 2016. We've been able to implement and ensure that as a Technopolis, one of our anchor tenants as a Technopolis is a university. That is the Kenya Advanced Institute of Science and Technology, which is a graduate-only university and focuses on research and development, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And this will ensure that as a country, we are able to create more innovations. We are able to commercialize these innovations. We are able to move our country from an agriculture-based country to a country that is based on more innovations and more commercializations of startups. And this is the vision that Konza Technopolis will provide. Yeah. We've also been able to develop a state-of-the-art national data center. And data being the oil of today, Konza Technopolis is leading in ensuring that we are able to find a hosting environment for the data that will be driven by this research and innovation. And being data being the oil of today, if we can utilize this data to ensure that we create more innovations and commercialize this data, then we as a country will be able to move from an agriculture-based economy to one that is knowledge-based. Thank you.
Well, it's time now for a short break. When we return, we'll continue our discussion on the Konza Technopolis in Kenya. Stay with us.
In times of change, when the world seems uncertain, and what we hear doesn't reflect what we see, we seek the truth. When we are told only part of the story, we lose trust. In moments of crisis, our dreams, hopes, and wishes for a better tomorrow depends on a free press. At Voice of America, we bring you the stories that people take risks to see. We connect the world and unite it with truth. At Voice of America, we show you the whole picture.
Health, wellness, sport, beauty, medical breakthroughs. Healthy Living cares about your well-being. What are the main health concerns in Africa and around the world? Find out the latest on coronavirus. Connect with our experts and ask them questions.
How long does the virus stay?
Join me, Linor Moudou, in Washington, every week on Healthy Living, right here on VOA.
The U.S. Supreme Court's historic decision to limit abortion rights, there has been a wave of abortion-related policy shifts around the world, including in Africa. On this week's episode of Our Voices, we will look at the different perceptions and beliefs relating to sexual and reproductive health and the ongoing pro-choice and pro-life debates on the continent. Join the conversation each week right here on Our Voices.
Welcome back. We are discussing the Konza Technopolis in Kenya. With us is the CEO of the Konza Technopolis, John Paul Okwiri. Now, Mr. Okwiri, let's go beyond concept, dreams, and, this kind of grand idea and talk about some realities.
Yes.
There has been disappointment in many cases with even, some of the best ideas in terms of sustainability. We've seen cities, even the existing one, like Nairobi and other parts of Africa, grow haphazardly, no planning, no sustainable kind of order. In terms of guarantees, what is being done to make sure that in the future that city maintains the kind of concept that led to its creation, and that there won't be interference by either real estate developers, politicians who have different ideas than perhaps the planners of the city?
Thank you. Now, for sustainability of our master plan, we have ensured that we've developed guidelines that we use with the investors when they set up, when they step into the city for investment decisions. We ensure that the guidelines that have been developed and approved that guide the development of each structure in the city. We've also worked with the county governments, the neighboring county governments of Machakos, Makueni, and Kajiado, and ensure that with a 10-kilometer radius of the city has also been master planned, and a plan has been approved by the 3 county assemblies. Machakos has already approved, Makueni has also approved, Kajiado is working on the approval, and this will ensure that 10-kilometer radius around the city is also planned so that we avoid informal settlements that will come out and sprawl around the city, making it look bad in as far as physical planning is concerned. So we've physically planned the surrounding areas to ensure that we are able to sustain the development of the smart city of Konza Technopolis. We've also ensured that we've developed a building code for all the investors who set up in the city, so that all the buildings in the city will follow a certain code of construction, ensuring that sustainability is maintained. All the buildings in the city are required to achieve Green Star certification, LEED certification, solar use on the rooftops, ensuring that the facades, the ventilation is natural ventilation is utilized in as far as orientation of the building is concerned. All these are aspects to ensure that we build a sustainably sustainable.
That sounds really good. But sometimes you also base some of your observations on what is ongoing. For example, we know that the city is going to fall under the jurisdiction of certain, administrations, and always there's a political, connection to these cities on how they're run and who is benefiting in which way. So, for example, when you talk about codes. We've seen not long ago, there was a lot of debate over the violation of codes, construction and building codes in even parts of Nairobi, whereby this neighborhoods that were supposed to maintain certain type of housing, certain heights of houses, were obviously ignored by the same city officials, and they allowed real estate developers to do whatever they're doing. So how do you do this, especially given that there will be 3 different administrative jurisdictions involved in this city's kind of administration? How do you guarantee that there won't be that kind of violations by politicians who have different agendas than yourself?
Oh, thank you. Okay, so what we've done, and you rightfully stated that Konza Technopolis has transitioned through the 3 administrations. The first one being the the late President Mwai Kibaki administration that established the Vision 2030 and conceptualized Konza Technopolis. The second being the Big 4 agenda by His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta. And now the 3rd administration of His Excellency President William Ruto under the plan where we are implementing the digital superhighway, and Konza being at the forefront of this implementation of the digital superhighway. What we've done is to ensure that the concept of Konza Technopolis is anchored in law. We have developed a Konza Technopolis bill, which is currently at the floor of the House in Parliament, undergoing the second reading. And very soon we'll have an Act of Parliament that establishes Konza Technopolis. This will ensure that all the codes, all the building, the guidelines, the development guidelines, the master plan will be anchored in law, and this will ensure that for whatever administration that will come after, then everything will be included and ratified in law. So that is one aspect that we've done. The second one being Konza being a political project as a result of political strategy. We've ensured that we worked also with our key stakeholders, the national government through our Ministry of ICT and Digital Economy, the county government, the neighboring county government of Kajiado, Machakos, and also Makueni, to ensure that they also support in the physical planning of their various counties. And in that, it means that the impact of this development of Konza Technopolis will be felt also in the counties. And this means that also the counties will be able to benefit from the development of the Technopolis, and also ensure that they also follow suit and also develop similar technopolises. Yeah. In the bill, you realize that Konza Technopolis the law is proposing that we will have more technopolises being established also in the counties. This will ensure that as a country, we now embrace the concept of developing new cities each and every time.
So this will be like a model, in other words. That's what you're saying.
Yes, this is a model. Yeah. This is a model, and that is the vision of the Technopolis, and that is the vision that we've included in the bill to ensure that as a country, Konza Technopolis does not become the first and the last smart city to be developed in Kenya. Yes.
In terms of, I know it's supposed to be a mixed-use city, supposed to have business centers. You've called it the Africa Savannah, and also it should be having residential, houses and complexes. The question is, does it include everybody? Is any Kenyan able to come to that city and reside there and work there? Or is it going to be of a particular group of people, a certain class of people there? I mean, there are people out there who may be concerned about that.
Yes. So thank you for that. You know, Konza is an investment destination. It's a 5,000-acre piece of land that belongs to the government. And the government mandated us as Konza Technopolis Development Authority to build the basic infrastructure. And government has already invested in the basic infrastructure. We've been able to master plan and develop that infrastructure in as far as what investors would require. We've also ensured that Konza Technopolis is a special economic zone, thereby being able to benefit from the tax incentives that is provided for in law. That means that investors are now free and ready to join the Technopolis. Right now, we finished with the basic horizontal infrastructure. We now want to welcome, and we are welcoming investors to come put up the vertical infrastructure. With the vertical infrastructure, it means we'll be able to have schools, housing, mixed uses, commercial buildings, residential buildings. We have universities and schools, and also social amenities. And this means that each and every person in Kenya is free, in Kenya and around the world, is free to come to Konza, live, work, and play.
And in terms of In terms of the commitment so far, how far are you in terms of getting the commitments for investors so that this does not end up being one of those cities that are constructed and then end up not being occupied or used to the full?
We have been able to implement infrastructure in the phase one of the Technopolis. The first one of the Technopolis is about 600 acres. Within the 600 acres, we have 147 parcels of land that is available for investors. Out of the 147, over 100 parcels have already been allocated to investors. The land conveyancing process takes about 18 months from the time when an investor walks in to the time when the investor is able to register the sublease, and to the time when the investor is able to mobilize and break the ground. So most of these investors are in between these various stages, and we've been able to have those that have already been issued with construction permits, meaning that they are able to start construction anytime. One of such investors... Yeah.
Yes, go ahead and mention one of those. I was curious to hear who are some of those.
Yes, one of those investors, and this in this case we're talking about private developers, not government-led projects like the KAIST digital. We're talking about private-led investors. One of those investors is Riara University, which has already broken ground and is establishing their main campus in the Technopolis. Riara is an innovation-led university, and it has found it at the right ecosystem to be able to move their campus from Nairobi to the Technopolis. We also have about other 5 investors whom we've already issued with construction permits, ranging from investors interested in technology solutions, housing. We have an investor who's coming up to put about 200 units of housing. We also have investor who's coming up to put industrial go-downs so that we are able to set up our light industrial zone. So all these investors have been issued with the construction permit, and within this year, we'll be able to see 5 more investors breaking ground. In the meantime, we have and we have operationalized a national data center, which is Tier 3, uptime certified in as far as sustainability is concerned. We also have the anchor tenant, that is the Kenya Advanced Institute of Science and Technology, whose construction is completing in December, and will be able to admit students in May next year. That means the ecosystem of the Technopolis is set to grow organically. We have also been able to get sufficient support from the Korea government through the Korea Exim Bank that is coming to establish the digital media city. This is a state-of-the-art 160-acre investment that is going to set up a state-of-the-art Nollywood, all Hollywood kind of facility for our film industry, animation, software development, fashion, art, to enhance our creative economy. And you know what creative economy can do for our country in as far as talent is concerned. And this is the direction that Konza Technopolis is leading the country.
Just one question. So who's going to run it eventually?
The digital media city, right?
Yes, the entire city.
The entire city. Yeah. Yes, thank you. Okay. Right now, our mandate as Konza Technopolis Development Authority is to establish the basic infrastructure and ensure that we are able to set up the ecosystem. As soon as we have residents in the city, the governance structure will change, and it will change to suit the residents and to suit the citizens who will be Technopolis. At some point, maybe based on how the situation will be, maybe we'll have a mayor running the city, a governor running the city.
Oh, great.
A governor running...
Governor, Mayor, yes. Thank you very much. We have to leave it right here. Thank you, John Paul Okwiri, for the thought-provoking discussion. We appreciate your time. Thanks to our affiliate stations for broadcasting Straight Talk Africa across the continent. Now check out Straight Talk Africa on social media. Like us on Facebook, follow us on X. Be sure to also watch us on YouTube and let us know what you think. I'll see you next time.